This is Tar Heel Talk, an in-depth look at the issues and people making news in North Carolina. Here's your host, Sonia Williams.
Studies show the average person will change careers about 5 to 7 times during their working life. But what happens when they hit that sweet spot where their work experience, their skills, and passion all align? Well, today's guest is here to help answer that and to share tips on how we can all follow our dreams. Joining me now is Dr. Cassandra Caldwell, chef and owner of Heart and Soul Catering. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
I don't know what to call you. I don't know whether to call you Dr. Caldwell, Chef Cassandra. What is your preference?
These days I go by Chef Cassandra, but if you'd like to call me Dr. Chef, that's fine too.
Well, your portfolio is absolutely amazing. You have gone from being a director of diversity and inclusion in corporate America to being a college professor to now owning your own catering business. Tell us a little bit about the work that you've done over the past 3 decades.
Well, Sonia, I have been very busy. I have a very eclectic background, and as you mentioned, I've worked in both the public sector and the private sector. I've been a diversity consultant and executive for over 23 years. And while I was very passionate about that work, that wasn't my gift. And so I've known for over 25 years that my gift has been with hospitality. And that's why I decided to step out on faith and follow my gifts and start my catering business. And so the business focuses on catering and personal chef services, as well as we help plan events. So I work with a network of chefs and event planners and bartenders and servers across the country to bring events that are good for your heart and soul.
And you're based out of Florida, but like you said, you work with people all over the country, so your services are available for people not just in Florida, but throughout the country.
Definitely, and I have lots of clients in the Triangle area, and so that's why I was excited to be able to come on your show and talk about my business, and also talk about what's it like to make a career change, especially when you're in your middle of your career.
Right, and that's really important because the work that you're doing is much more than just providing a catering service to people. You really personalize and make this an event for every client that you have.
Definitely, I definitely do. I customize all of my client menus, and we don't have set packages on purpose. And that's because I want people to feel like they're really getting personalized service and that we're offering them a value for the service that they're getting.
Tell us a little bit about your business, because I've watched and followed you on all platforms of social media and just see that the food that you post is absolutely incredible. So talk a little bit about the services that you provide.
Well, I've been cooking ever since I was 10 years old. My first meal was a T-bone steak with string beans and a salad that my mother taught me how to make. Oh, and baked potato, forgot about that. And from that time of 10 years old until now, I've always been fascinated with hospitality, with making people feel welcome and cooking and etc. And so a part of the services that I offer is a weekly meal service. Of course, that's for the South Florida area, where you can get fresh meals delivered weekly around the South Florida area. And also, as I mentioned before, offer catering services for weddings and for small events and private dinners, etc. And then there is the personal chef business that is actually my favorite part of the business, and that's where I consult with clients on their dietary restrictions and their preferences and design custom meals for them each week and deliver those to them as well.
Right. And so when we talk about preparing meals and dinner, we often think about companies like Blue Apron and Hellofresh.
Right.
What makes your company different than those?
Blue Apron and Hellofresh and those types of companies are wonderful because you get meals delivered to you, but they're not pre-made. And so where my business comes in is that you don't have to worry about shopping, you don't have to worry about cooking the food. I will do that, as well as several sous chefs that I have who work with me, depending on the size of the order. And we deliver it to you, so all you have to do is put it in the microwave or oven, depending on the meal, and go ahead and enjoy it.
Right. That's definitely a huge plus, and we're looking at some of your meals now. Again, your presentation is incredible.
Thank you.
So when you talk about starting a business, though, because like I said, you've worn many hats, both in corporate America and in the public sector as well. What are some of the tips that you provide and that you want to share with our viewers? I know the first thing is don't quit your day job yet. I love that.
Yes, and I say that because a lot of times people get excited about starting their own business and they want to jump out there and quit their job. And I don't recommend that at all. And if you talk to any entrepreneur, they will tell you that because you have to have some way to support your family and yourself. So I always tell people to start your business as a side business first to see how it goes and see if it works. Because unfortunately, over half of businesses fail or don't make it past the 3-year mark. So you have to be very careful and make sure that it is something that you actually like to do after you get into it and start doing it, and it will be successful. I also advise people to find an entrepreneur mentor, and that's someone like myself who has owned several businesses and understands business and can kind of help you get started along your journey. You should have some type of business plan, whether it be formal or informal. And what I mean by that is, in order to have a formal business plan, that's usually a good idea if you plan to ask banks for a business loan. But if that's not the route you want to take, then you can have an informal business plan as well. And that's just where you are writing down ideas that you have about how you plan to market the business, what kind of services you want to offer, and how you're going to differentiate yourself from your competitors.
Okay. And that's leading to the next point, is understand your competition and how your business is different.
Right, exactly. Because, for example, there are a million caterers out there, but what makes Heart and Soul Catering and Events different? Well, the thing that makes us different in the South Florida area is that we are highly professional, and that comes from my corporate background and understanding how to run a business. And also because, as I mentioned, we do a lot of very customized services for our clients. And it's very important that if you're starting a business that you invest in professional branding and make sure that your brand is perceived as very professional. And so that means investing in marketing and spending a little money to really get the word out about your business. And last, don't treat your business like a hobby. A lot of times people, even though they're starting part-time, they're not devoting as much time as they should initially. And any business that you start requires a lot of time, even if it is part-time, to get it off the ground.
And how do you find that balance between, investing and starting a business and still maintaining your full-time employment?
Well, that's a great question, because you definitely have to make some sacrifices, and that's with anything that's worth having. You have to maybe not do as much as you normally do on the weekends with your free time, and use that time to devote to your business, and maybe stay up a little later at night working on your business. But if that's truly your gift and something that you really want to do, you'll find the time.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break. We'll talk more in just a minute. All right. Up next, tips on making a career change. We'll discuss those when Tar Heel Talk continues. Today's show focuses on entrepreneurship and finding that delicate balance between your skill sets and your interests. With us again to help provide guidance on that is Dr. Cassandra Caldwell, chef and owner of Heart and Soul Catering. Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you again for having me.
When you talk about the work, and we talked a little bit about the work that you've done, both in corporate America and in the public sector, being a college professor, how did you make that transition to starting your own business and starting your catering business?
Well, I started to think about it when I turned 40, which was 7 years ago. I'm not ashamed of my age. And I started to think about the quality of my life that I wanted to have. And I was looking at what I was doing and how much I was traveling and et cetera. And I really sat down and tried to think about what would make me happier and what would allow me to live the kind of life that I wanted to live. And I wanted to live by the beach, even though I'm 30 minutes away. That's closer than I've ever been. And I wanted to have the flexibility to continue to work from home. And I wanted to do something that I wanted to wake up every morning and be excited about doing.
Right, and you put together some tips for people who are making a career change. And the first one, and I really love this and want to hear your take on this, is to follow your gifts, not your passion.
Actually, I have to give Steve Harvey credit for that, because he recently did a whole segment about following your gifts and not your passions, because you can be passionate about a lot of things, but it may not be what you're really, really good at and what the gift that God has given you. And so once you figure out what your gift is, it's much easier to transition, especially with a career change, to be able to do that and, quite frankly, figure out how to make a living doing it. And that's exactly what I did. So I followed my gift and not necessarily my passion.
Okay. Another is identifying what training and or education you need to make those career changes. And obviously, I mean, you have a PhD, so you have a wealth of knowledge in terms of education. But when you talk about how that translates into your gifts, how did you do that?
And so actually my PhD has nothing to do with hospitality. It's in human and community resource development. But what I did was I looked at what I needed to do to become a chef, what kind of training I needed. I did not go to culinary school full-time and get a degree, but I have taken culinary classes. And because I've owned a restaurant and I've worked in various commercial kitchens, etc., ever since I left undergrad at UNC Chapel Hill, literally, I had over 25 years worth of hospitality experience, and it didn't really dawn on me until I really sat down and thought about writing my business plan for my hospitality company. So you have to look at what training you need. I know other individuals who've had career changes, and they may have had to go back to school, or they may have needed a specific certification, etc. So definitely look at what you need for where you want to go. And then also, I talked about this before, look at the quality of your life rather than the quantity. I had to do some soul searching on, okay, what do I want my life to look like? And it may not have necessarily looked like it had in the past when I worked in the corporate world. And I was fine with that. And so for me, to be at peace and to be happy is the most important thing to me right now in terms of making a career change. And I always tell people this, and this is just not about making a career change, but just with life in general, is that you have to conquer your fears. Fear keeps people stagnant. It keeps you from doing things that you may excel at doing. And but when I say conquer your fear, I mean think about face everything and rise. And
I love that. Yeah.
Thank you. I can't take credit for that either, but face everything and rise and just conquer your fear. And the worst thing that can happen is that you may not be successful, but at least you tried. And that's the most important part.
And there are some lessons that can be learned in that as well.
Exactly. Lots of lessons. And if it doesn't work out, you have the right to change your mind. And you also have the right to change your mind about your current career. It's okay if you want to go do something else. There's nothing saying that you can't grow. So you should always strive to grow in your life, and talk with others who've changed careers. I actually talked with several individuals who I know personally who have made major career changes totally away from what they were doing before, and they're all just so happy and giddy because they decided to follow their gifts and do something totally different. So talk with others who have who were on this same journey, and always keep your eyes on the prize, because whenever you make any kind of change in your life, it's not going to be easy. And there'll be days where you will question, why am I doing this? And then there'll be days when you will be extremely happy and realize that you are pursuing your dreams.
And I think that's really important for people to remember that every day is not going to be perfect, and that's, I think, where that mentor would come in handy, to have someone to be kind of a sounding board.
Exactly, exactly. So that's why I recommend that everyone should have a mentor, whether you're doing a career change or not.
Absolutely. How can people find out more information about your catering business and the work that you're doing?
Well, they can follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Catering Heart. And so it's at Catering Heart everywhere. And the website is also cateringheart.com. So we're on all those platforms, and we update almost on a daily basis on those.
Okay, so lots of ways to keep in touch and to follow you.
Yes.
Okay. How can people find out more information about the personalized services that you provide? Because I know that there are a lot of people who might be interested in having a personal chef who think, well, it's not realistic. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a professional athlete. But you don't have to be to take advantage of your services.
You do not have to be a celebrity or a chef, and it's not for wealthy people. It's just if you do not have time to cook, or you don't like to cook, or even don't know how to cook, a
That would be
personal
me.
chef. A personal chef would probably work for you. And so I work with people's budgets and we figure it out. For example, this week I am here for UNC Chapel Hill's homecoming, and I'm actually providing personal chef services for a family here in Durham all week, in addition to the other things that I have with events going on.
And so it's important to have that dialogue with someone that you're going to be working with. What are some of the questions that people should be asking when they're looking for a personal chef?
Well, whenever they're looking for a personal chef, they should be able to ask about references and get references on the chef, as well as find out whether they are licensed and insured. That's important. And also find out what kinds of foods they cook, because oftentimes chefs specialize in certain types of foods. So make sure that their specialty aligns with your needs. And then there are chefs who can basically cook anything that you like, and I would be one of those, and can accommodate any type of dietary restriction. We have for example, we have a very extensive vegetarian and vegan menu that we offer, in addition to all the other menus that we offer.
So definitely important to ask those questions and find out information up front.
Yes.
And tell us again how people can find out more information about your business and the work that you're doing.
The best way is to go to our website at www.cateringheart.com, and you can also call us at 561-614-2877. And if you go to the website, it will also connect you to all our social media platforms.
Absolutely, and it's important to note that you are based out of Florida, but you provide services throughout the country.
Throughout the country, yes.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll talk more in just a minute. Okay. We'll be back with more Tar Heel Talk after these messages. Welcome back to Tar Heel Talk. I'm Sonia Williams. Studies show the average person will change careers about 5 to 7 times during their working life. But what happens when they hit that sweet spot where their work experience, their skills, and passion all align? Well, my guest today is helping answer that question, and she's here to share tips on how we all can follow our dreams. With us again is Dr. Cassandra Caldwell, chef and owner of Heart and Soul Catering. Thank you again for being with us. We were talking about your business as a personal chef. When you look at people who may have personal chefs, we always think of the rich and famous, the actors and actresses and the professional athletes. But you're saying that that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Who could benefit from having a personal chef?
Well, my average client is not famous and they're not rich. They're just folks who really don't like cooking or travel a lot and may not have time to cook, or may be very busy and really want to have nutritious meals for their families. Right. So people are focusing more on nutrition now and eating healthy and eating right. And when you're very busy with your schedule, sometimes that doesn't always happen.
Absolutely.
And so a part of what I do when I consult with clients is make sure that their nutritional needs are being met depending on their dietary restrictions.
Okay. And we're looking at some of the photographs of some of your meals, and I have to say the presentation is amazing.
Well, thank you.
Every time I look at your post, I always get hungry. So tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here.
Okay, so this is, these are pork medallions in marsala sauce, and served with asparagus and potatoes au gratin, one of my favorite dishes to cook.
Yes, very fancy.
And those are charbroiled oysters, and they're delicious. Okay. And that is tuna tartare.
very nicely, like I said, presentation to me, it can be everything, especially when you're talking about doing events, and you do events all over the country. You're doing weddings and different parties. Talk a little bit about the work that you're doing, not just in the Florida area, because like I said, you're here in North Carolina for the week for homecoming, and we'll be doing some events. Talk a little bit about the services that you provide throughout the country.
Yes, and so anytime I have an event that's out of town or out of state, I always find commercial kitchens, and they're all over the country, to rent for the particular event, and I prepare meals there. And depending on the size of the event, I may bring some of my staff with me to assist, or I may recruit local sous chefs and servers from the area. So that's how I'm able to have a national business, because I have a wide network. Because of my hospitality background, I used to recruit for a hospitality company. I used to recruit chefs, and so because of that, I've met a lot of people in the industry, and I can call them depending on the event.
And that's really important when you talk about making that transition from working in corporate America to starting your own business, that you take advantage of those soft skills and the network that you've built over the years through your full-time employment. Exactly.
And it has come in very handy. A lot of the work that I've done in corporate America has centered around event planning. And so, I understand presentation. We talked about that earlier. And I really like for people to be able to visualize how the food will taste before they taste it. So if it just doesn't look good, I won't send it out, or I won't serve it. So I take a lot of time, even before the meal is made, to really think about how I want to present it. And I've traveled all over the world, traveled to 16 countries on 5 different continents. And every time I travel, I always make sure that I go to 5-star restaurants at least once while I'm out, so that I can study presentations from other top chefs and really study what's going on. This is before I even started my catering business. That was just kind of my thing that I would always do.
Right. So when you talk about and you look at all the different dishes that you offer and you provide, you really do take the time to get to know your client and their likes and dislikes, and kind of base the menu on that.
Definitely, and I also try to incorporate new dishes each week with clients. Of course, I repeat dishes, but I try and throw in a few new ones each week to give them some variety and some different things, and they really like that. And because I know what they like, because they fill out a questionnaire and I find out about their preferences. And then it's exciting for them to get their menu every week and see, oh, she added this, and this is new, and this is good, so that they get a chance to expand their palates as well.
And again, with your personal chef services, your clients don't have to cook a thing. They just pop it in the microwave and they're set.
They don't have to grocery shop. They don't have to do anything. I deliver it and they're happy.
Absolutely. How can people find out more information about your catering business and the work that you're doing?
Well, they can go to our website at www.cateringheart.com. They can call us at 561-614-2877. And if they go to our website, they can also fill out a form that will ask for more information if they have a specific event that they want us to cater.
Okay. And you also are on many of the social media platforms, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
Yes.
So they can look for Catering Heart there as well.
Exactly.
Okay. We have about a minute left in the program. What final advice would you like to share with viewers in terms of if they're looking for a caterer or just want to make a career change themselves?
Well, if they're looking for a caterer, I would advise them to call Heart and Soul Catering and Events. If they want to make a career change, I would say the first thing they should really do is figure out what their gifts are and how they can make a living doing it.
Absolutely. Excellent advice. And we want to tell people again that they can go to your website, cateringheart.com, and find more information, or call 561-614-2877 and certainly connect with you in that way.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Dr. Cassandra Caldwell, Chef Cassandra, thank you so much for your expertise today, and thank you for sharing your work with us.
Thank you.
All right. That's it for this week's Tar Heel Talk. To comment on this or other episodes of the show, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, or send us an email to tarheeltalk@fox50.com. I'm Sonia Williams. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next week.